Over the years, WWE has showcased quite a few horrifying moments that sent chills to anyone watching the show. And why shouldn't they, considering we've seen the likes of the Boogeyman, Fiend, and the Undertaker. Sorry, they're all spooky characters, basically. I'm Kevin, and today we look at 5 of the scariest moments in WWE history. Number 5, John Cena encounters a spooky Wyatt family child. At Extreme Rules 2014, Cena took on his nemesis, Bray Wyatt, in a steel cage match. The two men had been feuding since the Royal Rumble earlier that year, which even led to the infamous WrestleMania 30 bout between the two, where Cena came out victorious. Throughout that steel cage match, both men put each other through hell, but it looked like Cena would once again emerge as the winner. All of a sudden, when Cena got the advantage over Wyatt and attempted to escape the cage through the unlocked door, the lights went out and a child appeared, wearing a black robe, singing Wyatt's "He's Got the Whole World in His Hand" in a distorted voice. It sounded more like get hit with a Sister Abigail by a resurrected Bray Wyatt. Wyatt escaped the cage as the winner and then walked away with the mysterious creepy child. I wonder where that kid is now. Does Bray Wyatt have a son? Are we gonna get Bray Wyatt Jr.?
Does he still sound like this?
Number 4, Kevin Nash sees his own corpse. After banishing the fake Undertaker back to whichever alternate timeline fake Undertakers come from, the real Undertaker was involved in a feud with Big Daddy Cool Diesel. The two men had a heated and very personal rivalry in which each cost each other numerous WWE Championship title shots. They feuded throughout the road to WrestleMania 12, making it their battle at the grandest stage of them all inevitable. On an episode of Raw, Diesel competed in a match against Barry Horowitz, but in the middle of the match, Paul Bearer rolled out a casket to ringside. Upon the casket opening, Diesel saw a dead body covered in a plastic bag. Big Daddy Cool went to remove the plastic bag, unraveling the face to be his very own. The audience and Diesel were truly taken aback by this horrifying segment, and it went on to become the highlight of their iconic feud. Number 3, the Ministry of Darkness sacrifices Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin have had some high-profile feuds throughout their careers. However, the most bizarre chapter in the rivalry came in 1998, when the Undertaker returned to the WWE as the leader of the Ministry of Darkness. A week prior to the rock bottom 1998 pay-per-view, the two superstars faced off in tag team action, where Austin teamed with Mankind while Taker partnered with The Rock. To the surprise of absolutely no one, the match ended in a DQ after Ministry members Big Boss Man and Ken Shamrock attacked Austin and Mankind. Mrs. Foley's baby boy was eventually handcuffed to the ring by the Big Boss Man, while Austin was punished and dragged outside by an ominous Undertaker. Taker ended up bringing out a huge demonic cross-like symbol and tied Austin to it. The cross-like symbol was then elevated and Stone Cold was quote-unquote sacrificed to the higher power on live television. Imagine them trying to do something like this on TV in 2021. Yeah, I don't think it would happen. Number 2, The Fiend plays mind games with the Miz's family. In 2019, Bray Wyatt and his alter ego, The Fiend, started terrorizing the WWE roster, victimizing the likes of Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, and Daniel Bryan. Towards the end of the year, Wyatt entered into a feud with The Miz. The Miz, eager to know the whereabouts of Daniel Bryan, who had disappeared from WWE after his encounter with The Fiend, decided to call Wyatt out and learn the truth about Bryan on his own. Wyatt, however, began playing mind games with the A-lister and started involving the Miz's family in the feud. The spookiest part of this feud came during a film segment in the Miz's house, where he sat down with Renee Young for an interview and eventually showed him closed-circuit television footage of their daughter Monroe's room. Monroe's room was filled with stuffed toys from the Firefly Funhouse, and the footage was interrupted by Wyatt, who asked Miz to let him in. Upon reaching Monroe's room, The Miz found his daughter terrified and a doll which looked quite like The Fiend. 2 years later, Bray Wyatt and Renee Young are no longer associated with the WWE. Number 1, The Undertaker hangs the Big Boss Man. Of all the scariest things The Undertaker has pulled off in his legendary WWE career, this one takes the cake. At WrestleMania 15, The Undertaker faced Big Boss Man in a Hell in a Cell. Although this feud has been called unlikely by many, as the Taker at this point was a multi-time world champion, it found itself to be cemented in the history books forever, although for all the wrong reasons. After winning the match in about 10 minutes, The Undertaker decided to put the Big Boss Man through some more punishment. Taker called on the Brood to drop in from the top of the ceiling with a noose from the top of the cell. Taker put the noose around Big Boss Man's neck and asked Paul Bearer to press the button, which led the Hell in a Cell cage structure to rise up in the air, taking Big Boss Man with it. Now obviously this was done with some showbiz stunt work and shenanigans, and the Big Boss Man was not being legitimately hung from the ceiling, but you got that picture on live television and his body looked lifeless, horrifying the audience in the arena and those watching at home. It was the Attitude Era, and it was a different time where WWE would push the envelope.